So the NFL season opener was a wild one that started out in pretty embarrassing fashion. However, the game itself, albeit very weird throughout, ended in exciting fashion and was a great start to what is hopefully a great 2025 NFL season. Well, in today's video, I'll break down the newest controversy of Spitgate because Dak Prescott wasn't exactly innocent in the matter either. I'll also look at key takeaways from this game, the Eagles adding to their pass rush, talk about some updated injuries throughout the league, a Redzone commercial update, and much more right after. All right, first up, there was a football game last night. Real football was played. The season is here. Let's go. This game was really weird, though. It featured a star player getting ejected, a weather delay, and an otherwise dependable receiver costing his team with some ugly drops. So let's get right into it. Dallas took the opening kickoff, and sadly, on that play, right away, we saw a player go down with an injury. Ben Van Sumeren, the Eagles fullback and special teamer, he went down with a knee injury and had to be carted off. Never wish injuries on anybody. Freaking awful. That was quickly forgotten about, though, because while he was being carted off, Jalen Carter and Dak Prescott appeared from the wide angle to have exchanged words, and suddenly Jalen Carter was ejected. This happened right in front of a ref. So, yeah, he got ejected. We were like, what the heck is going on? It turns out, though, Jalen Carter spit on the breastplate of Dak Prescott's jersey. We later found out that Dak initially, he was the quote-unquote instigator. He spit in the direction of Jalen Carter before that, but said he wasn't spitting at him. That was his post-game presser and what he said. But my question is, why was Jalen Carter so close to the Cowboys huddle to even begin with? Just stay on your side, bro. Anyway, what Dak did is probably not a fine or discipline worthy, and it certainly didn't justify Jalen Carter spitting right on his chest. That's a no-go. Trash behavior, if you ask me, and it rightfully got him ejected. So 6 seconds into the game, and not one play from scrimmage yet, and the Eagles already lost arguably their best defensive player. For what it's worth, the NFL is reviewing that incident, and there could be a suspension coming down the line, but some insiders are already trying to say he essentially served a one-game suspension already because he didn't play a single snap, and players who are ejected during a game rarely face a suspension afterwards. So right now, your guess is as good as mine as to what happens next with Jalen Carter. The league could make an example of him and maybe suspend him for a game, but their next game is a Super Bowl rematch against the Chiefs at Arrowhead, so some think the league will not be doing that. Who knows? A fine is for sure coming, but that really might be all. But hey, let me know your thoughts on Spitgate and the consequence you think should come from that, or was him not playing a single snap in this game worth it and just fine him and move on? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts either way in the comments down below. Anyway, with that, Jalen Carter's absence allowed Dallas to get their ground game going a bit, and the Cowboys' first 2 drives resulted in Javonte Williams touchdowns from the goal line. Pretty surprising, really. Philly was keeping pace, though, because Jalen Hurts also ran a couple of tutties in himself, with Saquon Barkley punching in their 3rd touchdown of the first half. Brandon Aubrey connected on a 41-yarder, then a 53-yarder, and the score was 21-20, Eagles up heading into the break. Jake Elliott then drilled a 58-yarder, sorry for yelling, on the opening possession of the second half, and believe it or not, but those were the last points scored in this game. Dallas had a hell of a chance to take the lead after an unnecessary roughness penalty bailed them out of what would have been an incompletion on 3rd and 22, so they get the first down, but Miles Sanders, the former Eagle, got stripped by Byron Young and Philly recovered. Good hustle here by Dak, because if he didn't make this tackle, the 4.340 Quinyon Mitchell was absolutely going to take that to the house. From there, though, a storm rolled in and the game was delayed for over an hour until they were back out there and playing again. It's probably not a coincidence that the game was pretty ugly. Following that, the next 5 drives resulted in punts for both teams, but Dallas got the ball with under 3 minutes and had an opportunity to take the lead. Dak Prescott honestly threw a perfect ball, hitting CeeDee Lamb deep down the field in stride, but Lamb couldn't hang on to it, and just a few plays later, they were facing 4th down. Dak went back to him again, and while this one was a bit out in front of him and he had to dive, he could have made the play, I guess. I think it's a little insane that on 4th and 3, this was the route they decided to go, because all you needed to keep the game alive was a short pass. Sure, the blitz was coming, but you're telling me you don't have a hot route and some short option to just move the sticks and keep it going? I was definitely confused by that, and was even more confused on this play here, where Jalen Hurts just needed a first down to ice the game and it was over. Well, they motioned Saquon out wide, and I literally said as Hurts was back there empty, he's gonna run it. And he did, but the Cowboys didn't even have a spy on him. Very confusing, absurd, borderline malpractice, but okay. Cowboys lose. Eagles win 24-20. CeeDee Lamb was by far their best receiver all game, hauling in 7 passes for 110 yards, but he did drop several key passes that were thrown his way and ultimately played a pretty big role in their loss. Lamb actually leads the league in drops since 2020. He gets a ton of targets, to be fair, but still, it is a bit unfortunate, even though he is still one of the best in the league. After the game, Lamb took complete accountability, saying the drops were terrible and he needs to catch the damn ball. I thought Dak Prescott played a pretty good game, all things considered. He looked really good out there. No, they didn't get the win, but that is at least a positive to take away from this game for Cowboys fans. Now for the Eagles receivers, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown were pretty much either shut down all game or just not targeted, because A.J. Brown didn't even get a single target until the final drive, and together, both Brown and Smith combined for 4 catches and 24 yards. I thought the Cowboys defense looked pretty solid, all things considered, even though there was a pretty notable lack of pass rush on several key plays. I mean, they traded away Micah Parsons, so that was to be expected. They still had a chance to win it in the end, though. No Jalen Carter certainly helped with that, but Dallas was able to limit Saquon to just 3.3 yards per carry on the ground and held their receivers in check for the most part, aside from an absolute dot, a 50-yarder to Jahan Dotson. Jalen Hurts' main go-to was tight end Dallas Goedert. 7 targets, 7 catches, but then he absolutely killed them using his legs. Hurts picked up key first downs and ran in for those 2 scores, of course. People were trying to troll around online about Hurts and his low average depth of target after the game, but honestly, who cares? Just do what it takes to beat a divisional opponent and get out of there with a W, which is exactly what Philly did. All in all, I thought this was an entertaining game. The Cowboys defense looked a little better than I thought without Micah, and the Eagles got the job done, but looked vulnerable at times, especially via their CB2 and Adoree Jackson. He had the worst coverage grade on the team by a mile. They also didn't record a sack all night, and the pass rush was a concern after losing Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, and Milton Williams this offseason. And then, of course, Jalen Carter didn't play at all. So that factors into it as well. And hey, it looks like after this game, the Eagles agreed that they needed a little bit of help with their pass rush, and that's why they went out and signed the longtime veteran Zadarius Smith today. He's around 33 years old. They signed him to a 1-year deal, probably vet min, and he was traded to the Lions last year after Aiden Hutchinson went down. So, hey, they've got a little bit of extra pass rush help after reportedly even trying to get Micah Parsons. Nolan Smith, though, the man who is poised to become their top edge rusher this year, he didn't get any sacks, but he did pick up a taunting penalty and a flag for roughing the passer. George Pickens also picked up an unnecessary roughness penalty for no reason at all, so he's in peak midseason form. The game got chippy at times. These teams don't like each other, but it was competitive, yet a pretty random game with the ejection, the weather delay. Overall, an entertaining way to kick off the 2025 NFL season. And it's just week 1. It's one game from 2 teams still trying to find their identity. That's what every team does for about 4 to 6 games of the season. You look at the state of your roster and try your best to figure it out, and then you start getting it going. So I'm not going to overreact about either team right now. I will say for the Eagles, something to keep an eye on, though, is the status of left guard Landon Dickerson. He left the game in the 4th quarter after re-injuring his back. That's something that had been nagging him throughout the week of practice, but he didn't return to the game last night, so we'll see what's going on with his back and if there's a chance he misses any games because of it. But what were some of your main takeaways from opening night? Let me know in the comments down below. Next up, I wanted to clarify some details on the commercials that are being introduced to Redzone this season. When word first came out, a lot of people were under the impression, including myself, that it would be full-on commercial breaks like every other TV program. I did think they would be much more minimal in comparison to an actual NFL broadcast because it's like 33% commercials. But honestly, it's really nothing. As it turns out, the ads will be run in a 2-box system where Redzone will still be on one side of the screen with no audio, and the ad will be on the other side with audio. Adam Schefter noted that over the entire 7-hour span of any given Redzone broadcast, the ads will be a total of 1 to 2 minutes broken up into 15-second increments, or, as Schefter points out, a quarter to a half of 1% of the total time, adding that it's much less than other sports and entertainment programs. So yeah, this actually is very minimal. The problem for me is this is only year one. The ads are going to increase every single year from here as time goes on. Mark my words. It's a bummer too, because since its inception in 2009, Redzone has been marketed as 7 hours of commercial-free football. It's also an extra cost just to be able to watch it, so the fact that there's a subscription fee and ads has some people pretty annoyed. I mean, it makes sense that Schefter is defending the commercials a bit, considering he's employed by the same company that just acquired NFL Network and Redzone. And I found this pretty interesting and worth noting in this video, even though ESPN has rights to Redzone. Look at this. Tom Pelissero, for whatever reason, said ESPN had nothing to do with the decisions to have these ads in their videos, which is pretty surprising. Yeah, I was not expecting that for sure. And I've seen some people claim they'll be canceling their subscription over this, but I'm curious, does this update change your guys' feelings on it at all? Sure, the commercials are annoying, but it's much less than we thought and won't cut away from the action entirely. Let me know either way in the comments, and from here, let's get into some injury updates. It looks like the Dolphins may be without their new tight end, Darren Waller, this Sunday. According to Mike McDaniel, Waller had a setback with his hip before yesterday's practice, and he's now doubtful for their game against the Colts. A couple months ago, Waller came out of retirement and was traded to the Dolphins from the Giants in exchange for a 6th-round pick. Miami has him listed as their starting tight end, with Jonnu Smith now on the Steelers. So with Waller likely out, it'll be Julian Hill and Tanner Conner stepping up in his place. The good news here for the Dolphins, though, is that both Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane are expected to play. Achane has been dealing with a calf injury, while Tyreek has a calf and an oblique injury, but both of them suiting up will be huge for Miami's offense, so that's good news there. Now, some news that's not so good. In theory, speaking of calf injuries, we're talking about Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers running back who popped up on the 49ers injury report yesterday and was a limited participant at practice. Then today, he wasn't out there with the rest of the running backs during warmups, but was doing his own routine off to the side with the trainer. However, he did not practice with the team at any point today and was actually listed as a DNP, so did not participate, with him now being listed as questionable on the injury report. This is a bit of a red flag, if you ask me, and it feels eerily similar to last season, where he was dealing with what they were calling Achilles tendonitis in both feet and ended up missing 8 games. He came back for 4 or 5 games, and that was a separate thing. But this popped back up, and this seems like it could be a re-aggravation of the same injury. If a team lists a player's calf, that very well could involve the Achilles. And then when head coach Kyle Shanahan was asked about it, he basically said, I'm not going to address this with you guys. I'm not going to talk about it. And if there was some good news there, I would assume he would at least try to downplay it. But for what it's worth, Christian McCaffrey spoke with the media. I don't know if it was in the locker room or what. And he basically said that it's nothing serious. I'll tell you that, quote, like I said, I feel great about where I'm at. Unfortunately, when you have the injury history that I have, sometimes when you don't practice, things get blown out of proportion. But like I said, I feel great. Well, okay. I'm still a little concerned because you went from full participant, no issues, limited, then didn't practice at all. But hey, we'll see what ends up happening here with Christian McCaffrey soon. I will say this, I am concerned regardless of what he just said there to the reporters. Next, someone who will for sure be playing is Myles Garrett after he missed yesterday's practice with a hip injury. He was back out there today with no injury designation whatsoever. So yeah, he's going to be out there Sunday. Great news considering they're going up against the Bengals. Patriots corner Christian Gonzalez will not be though, and he's been ruled out with a hamstring injury. That was to be expected after he didn't log any practices this week, and neither did Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely, who's been ruled out with the foot injury. No surprises there. Their fullback Patrick Ricard is also going to be out with the calf issue, but the newly signed cornerback Jair Alexander is good to go after being a limited participant with a knee injury earlier on in the week. For the Bills, Tre'Davious White, he's doubtful with a groin injury, but wideout Keon Coleman is expected to play with the same issue, a groin. Fellow wideout Khalil Shakir is also good to suit up after he missed about a month of practice with an ankle sprain. So there's some key injuries to keep an eye on for the Sunday night matchup. It's going to be a banger between the Ravens and the Bills. There's plenty of other injuries to talk about, but those are some of the most notable ones that I saw. And I didn't even get to talk about a couple of extensions that went down today, with the Bucs signing Zion McCollum to a 3-year, $48 million deal. Well deserved. And then the Bengals reached a 1-year agreement with center Ted Karras. There's all kinds of news out there, really, and there will be even more after all 16 of these Week 1 games are in the books. Let me know which games you are looking forward to the most this weekend, and with that, I'll see y'all next time.